What's going on, everybody? How's everybody doing? I want to shout out to all my live viewers and all my replay viewers. What's good? What is good? Does my mic sound nice? Does my mic sound nice? Check one. Does my mic sound nice? Check two. And the mic does sound nice. So we're going to get it in. We're going to get it popping. We're going to get it ready. So I was taking a look at this video probably a few weeks ago. And so we're going to just kind of get it in, go into it. I thought it was pretty interesting in the sense of this is something that maybe we can apply because, I've been hearing things in regards to the FBA family. I've been hearing things and in regard to like owning and controlling. Also, on top of that, I've been also noticing a trend. All right, noticing a trend. I've been noticing a trend, and that trend is that a lot of these rap artists, because I don't really hear about any other artists really doing that. I'm sure there's some that do, but there's been some or a lot of rap artists who seem to want to give up the ownership of their work, which is often referred to as publishing, and it seems like they want to give away their music back to and let the record companies keep the music and they just get paid for whatever deal they work out. But then it made me think that that's putting those record labels companies in a position to where every time a commercial comes on, every time a TV show comes on, anytime a movie comes on, and you hear one of these artists' songs on that TV show, that movie, right? That commercial, they're getting paid for that. And in regards to my FBA brothers and sisters, we understand how the plan is to try to really Dr. Claudine said we're already down at the bottom, but they really trying to smash us into the concrete. So we don't even exist at the bottom anymore. And so there's always been talk about, trying to get in position to really control some things. So I'm relaying that back or saying that to say, we're going to take a look at this video again because I decided, to look at that video. This has probably been a good month or more ago, but it stuck on my mind for a little bit. And I said, you know what? The way BlackRock gets down, now that the model was kind of whistle blown and revealed some, this might be something we can apply. Now, in terms of monies, it's always said that we spend so much money collectively, in the trillions of dollars when we consume as consumers. But yet people say, oh, we don't have that type of money. So I still think that this is a very interesting model to use and apply, even on a small scale. Even if you did it on your own, or you got a few people got together and kind of look at this BlackRock model here. All right, let's take a look at that. Okay, I think it'll be something that you'll find pretty interesting. So with that being said, man, You know what it is. We're going to get into it. It's the thoughts of the week. Let's get it.
Do you support reparations for Black people?
Well, listen, again, we had over 200 years of slavery. We had Jim Crow for almost a century. We had legalized discrimination and segregation, and now we have segregation and discrimination that is not legal but still exists and is a barrier to progress. We have disparities around housing. We have disparities around education. We have disparities around income. And we have to recognize that everybody did not start out on an equal footing in this country. And in particular, Black people have not. And so we have got to recognize that and do something about that and give folks a lift up. That's why, for example, I'm proposing the LIFT Act. Give people who are making $100,000 or less as a family a tax credit, which will benefit and uplift 60% of Black families who are in poverty.
So by default, it affects Black families, but there's not a particular policy for African Americans that you would explore.
But no, if you look at the reality of who will benefit from certain policies, when you take into account that they're not starting at the same place and they're not starting on equal footing, it will directly benefit Black children, Black families, Black homeowners, because the disparities are so significant. So if we focus on the specific issues that have resulted in the greatest disparities, and we understand that that's part of why we're doing it. Listen, the reality also is this: any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No, because whatever benefits that Black family will benefit that community and society as a whole and the country. Right?
You're rocking with the best Thoughts of the Week podcast. Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. What's going on? What's going on? You are rocking with the best Thoughts of the Week podcast. You know what it is. And yeah, we're live. Again, shout out to my live viewers. Shout out to my replay viewers as we enjoying the outside out here. Appreciate y'all, man. Got my darn, I don't know which one. Gotta make sure I'm careful how I spray the spray. Got these bugs out here, man. So we keeping it real. When you live, you know anything's bound to happen. And so, yeah. Again, we're gonna get into this video here. We're gonna kind of we're gonna look at it, think about it. You know, I'm gonna stop it every now and then. I'm gonna give my thoughts, my observations on it. And I was just looking at, like I said, I was looking at this video. And the more I looked at it and started listening, you know, light bulb came to me like, oh, so this is how they own and controlling everything. And a lot of y'all might not have heard of BlackRock, but hopefully they'll explain a little bit of what BlackRock does. But real briefly, they pretty much buying up, for what I understand, they buying up everything, real estate out the wazoo. And I guess that's one way they're trying to own and control everything. All right. So let's get into this, man, and let's try to break some things down regarding this. All right. Let's try to break some things down. Okay. So let's take a listen to this, man. Let's take a listen.
All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians. You can take this big ton of money and then you can start to buy people. Let me tell you, it's not through who's the president. It's who's controlling the wallet. So it's
And who's that?
the hedge funds, BlackRock, the banks. These guys are financial institutions. They buy politicians. You can take this big ton of money, and then you can start to buy people. Let me tell you, it's not through who's the president. It's who's controlling.
All right. Just want hit some points when y'all see this. It says, let me tell you, it's not who the president is, it's who's controlling the wallet of the president. All right. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Let's continue in.
Controlling the wallet. So it's
And who's that?
the hedge funds, BlackRock, the banks. These guys are.
A couple of years ago, we released this legendary video. BlackRock, the company that owns the world, with over 3.5 million views. But back then, we only had secondhand information to go off of. But now, we have this guy, Sergey Varley, a BlackRock recruiter exposing it all, thanks to an undercover operation by James O'Keefe.
First, there's the senators, and these guys are rich. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. I can give you 500K right now, no questions asked.
Man, we're gonna try to go in deep, man. He said, there's the senators. These guys are effing cheap. You say you got 10, they got 10 grand, and you could buy a senator for 10 grand. You know what I'm saying? So let's keep on going, man.
The senators, and these guys are rich. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. I can give you 500K right now, no questions asked.
Yeah.
I did it to be done. Volatility creates opportunity to make profit. War is real good for business. You're like an undercover reporter. I don't know. No people don't give a shit. This is beyond them.
So now, from the horse's mouth itself, here's a simple guide on how to actually rule the world. Step number 1. To rule the world, you first need to control an obscene amount of money. See, money gets you to the big boys table. And when you're at the big boys table, that's where you can actually start influencing how the world works.
Anybody who wants to go into politics, they're all puppets. There are 150, and they're all men that run the world, period.
Okay, I'm gonna put that back a little bit, but when I seen that part right there, you said that there's about 150 people that run the world. I've heard this 2 times before, some years back. I heard this twice before, and then another time I heard from somebody. I'm just gonna say, some of y'all might know who I'm talking about. When I'm gonna just say it in code. A very wise man. A lot of y'all know not a lot of y'all, some of y'all know what I'm talking about when I say a very wise man. I was sitting in the room when a very wise man, this ain't no joke, I'm not making this up. And I don't know how many of y'all paid attention when he said it. Very wise man. I'm not just gonna leave it at that. I'm not gonna put no names out there. Y'all, some of y'all, probably a small amount of y'all might know who I'm talking about. I sat with a bunch of other people, and a very wise man said there were 50 people that really run everything. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah, some of y'all know what I mean when I say a wise man. All right. That wise man said 50, and then after that time, well, I kind of heard before this wise man said that. I've kind of heard something like that before. The numbers changed, but This wise man said 50 people really running the whole world. And this guy on here in this video said 150. And then I heard that 2 more times before I seen this video some years back, that number 150. So between 50 and 150, that seems to be that number of people who really run everything, no matter what country you go into. All right. You can take that for what it's worth. You can comment and put all types of debates, debunks, whatever. I've heard this several times. People I don't know, like this guy here saying on video, but one person you can say I know, didn't know him personally, like an everyday thing, but I spoke to this person on different occasions. This wise man cracked jokes with me and other people. And I'll give you one more hint. This wise man, if I understood right, was a millionaire or multi-millionaire. And I'm just gonna leave it at that. Some of you know who I'm referring to. Don't put it in no comments or nothing like that, but I'm just telling you. I've heard that. I heard 50 and I heard 150 on a few occasions. That's really running everything. So now they're breaking down the plan. Step 1 is to own everything. Okay. You got to figure out a way to how to own everything. And if not own everything, maybe own a few things that'll put you in position, or own a lot of things. All right. So let's get back to this video.
They're all puppets. There are 100.
Step number 1. To rule the world, you first need to control an obscene amount of money. See, money gets you to the big boys table. And when you're at the big boys table, that's where you can actually start influencing how the world works.
Anybody who wants to go into politics, they're all puppets. There are 150, and they're all men that run the world. Period. Full stop. They control most of the important assets. They control the money flows. And these are not the tech entrepreneurs. Now, they are going to get rolled over the next 5 to 10 years by the people that are really underneath pulling the strings. And when you get behind the curtain and see how that world works, what you realize is it is unfairly set up for them and their progeny. First order of business is I want to break through and be at that table. That's the first order of business. And the way that I do that is by proving that I can do what they do as well as they do it. And then do it better than how they do it. Because at the end of the day, they are commercial animals, okay? And they'll open the door out of curiosity and they'll let me stay because I add value.
But it all starts with money.
You acquire stuff. You diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make in acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like,
add value.
But it all starts with money.
All right. So part of that model, it all starts with money. This guy is some type of either a whistleblower or, he happens to be one of them insider dudes that probably was feeling himself that day and didn't realize he was being recorded. And, he's giving out the jewels. All right. So you're saying you got to acquire stuff. Now, he doesn't say what stuff, but you guys can fill in the blanks. Acquire stuff. You diversify. You acquire. You keep on acquiring. All right. Let's keep on listening in.
you acquire stuff. You diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make in acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like, imagine you've invested in 10 different industries, from food to drinks to like technology, right? One of them fails. They'll
stay because I add value.
But it all starts with money.
You acquire stuff. You diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make and acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like, imagine you've invested in 10 different industries, from food to drinks to like technology, right? One of them fails, it doesn't matter. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like, imagine you've invested in 10
Curiosity, and they'll let me.
Now, the reason why I'm kind of going back, I'm going to try not to do that too much, but, and then you probably could play the video back, so I probably don't need to do it too tough, but I just want you to pay attention on how the model works, how the blueprint works. All right, because you can probably repeat this model on a smaller level, or that's on your own, or you can get with a few people, get together and apply with a little bit on a little bit bigger scale. Okay, so let's get back into it. Pay attention. All right.
Stay because I add value.
But it all starts with money.
You acquire stuff. You diversify, you acquire, you keep acquiring, you spend whatever you make and acquiring more. And at a certain point, your risk level is super low. Like, imagine you've invested in 10 different industries, from food to drinks to.
All right, from food to drinks, invest in 10 different industries, from food to drinks to technology. Just pick up on this game, all right? Pick up on this game right here. And like I said, you can do it on a smaller scale. And then as things increase, you can build up, all right? So peep out this model, man. Because like I said, it was something I figured I'll share with people. Because it's something I'm thinking about. That's a pretty good way to own and control. So before we continue, you can put it in the comments if you like, whether you're watching this live or after you watch the replay. Do you think the BlackRock model is a viable way or a viable model to own and control your destiny, how things go, own and control how, your family, your kids get older, maybe your cousins, so on and so forth, aunts, uncles, put everybody in position to keep on making the generations become bigger than BlackRock. All right, let's continue.
Like technology, right? One of them fails, it doesn't matter. You have 9 others to back you up.
Very good point. Very good point. So you spend whatever you make from acquiring so much things, you put it back in, you acquire more, you accumulate those funds, take those funds, acquire some more, and you continue the process. And then when certain things, if you got 10 different things, maybe one of them kind of breaks down a little bit, you got 9 others that's rocking with you, or that you can still function and don't have to worry about that one. It makes me think of a book that I read, and something that the Dutch shell company, not particularly in the same lane, but a little bit in that way. They did forward thinking and thought about all the things that could go wrong, and they started putting things in place, or they knew if certain things happened, they had ways of taking care of it and never have to worry about their company going down in the dumps. So this kind of made me think about that book that I read in that particular chapter. All right, so let's continue.
Risk level is super low. Like, imagine you've invested in 10 different industries, from food to drinks to like technology, right? One of them fails, it doesn't matter. You have 9 others to back you up. Risk management is inherently in just about everything. And in the finance space, it's all about the money you make. You don't let it sit. You keep using it over and over, and exponential growth.
Now, this also makes me think of something that Dame Dash been talking about off and on over the years. taking this money, flipping it, taking this money, putting it into stuff. This seems like this model that BlackRock is doing. Dame Dash was talking about that. He sounds some similar stuff he said. He said he always puts his own money up, into things, and then he takes that money that whatever he gets from whatever he's putting money into, he takes that money and puts it into something else. So a lot of people just be tripping about how he might say things, although I'm noticing he's kind of changing his tone a little bit as far as how he talks to people and how he talks in general. I'm noticing he's being a little bit more chilled and mellow about certain things. But nevertheless, this sounds similar to what Dame Dash was actually saying now that I'm looking at this and listening. So you accumulate things, you take the funds from that, purchase some more things, you own a little bit of everything, as it's saying on the screen, and that little bit of every gives you so much money on a yearly basis. So Dame Dash, shout out to you. Hope this video gets to you, homie. You can put your thoughts in the comments. So whoever is connected to Dame, shout out to you, man. It looks like you've been applying this same model. So let's go back a little bit.
Is inherently just about everything, and in the finance space, it's all about the money you make. You don't let it sit. You keep using it over and over, and exponential growth. You own a little bit of everything, and that little bit of everything gives you so much money on a yearly basis.
And that's exactly what BlackRock did. Today, BlackRock has more than $9 trillion of assets under management. And you know what that means, right? It means that if BlackRock was a country, they would be the 4th biggest country in the world in terms of assets, surpassed only by Japan, China, and the US. That means BlackRock is bigger than the UK, bigger than Germany, bigger than France, Canada, Italy, and they own a percentage of every single major company in existence.
And so, are you going to apply the BlackRock Way or the BlackRock model to own and control? I'm going to put that back just a little bit. All right. So, of course, you guys can always go back and, replay for those that can. I don't know if Twitch is able to do that. I've been trying to keep my videos on Twitch to stay, and I thought they did for a little while, but I think Twitch is a little bit different monster. I'm going to have to go back in there and kind of look into that again. But let me go put this back a little bit and just replay this again, man. I hope y'all taking notes and start applying this, even on a small scale. If it's just you individually, start looking into that. Take a little bit of money, put it on the side, and then start slowly figuring out what you want, what you're interested in, and what you want to put some money in. I have already. Someone's been saying something to me. I'm not going to reveal what one of the things I'm gonna put something in, but something that seemed to be pretty lucrative at the time right now. I don't know if it's going to be a continuous thing over the years, or is it going to evolve into something else, kind of change, but still be in that industry lane, but change a little bit. So yeah, I'm looking into something, but I'm going to apply this BlackRock model. All right, so let's get back into it.
You keep using it over and over, and exponential growth. You own a little bit of everything, and that little bit of everything gives you so much money on a yearly basis.
And that's exactly what BlackRock did. Today, BlackRock has more than $9 trillion of assets under management. And you know what that means, right? It means that if BlackRock was a country, they would be the 4th biggest country in the world in terms of assets, surpassed only by Japan, China, and the US. That means BlackRock is bigger than the UK, bigger than Germany, bigger than France, Canada, Italy, and they own a percentage of every single major company in existence. So BlackRock is now in this position where not only do they have this incredible influence over every single company out there, but now if all they did was sit back and do nothing, they would still get another half of Italy, and then
Now he mentioned that, I'm about to play that again. He mentioned that they have so much influence over all of these companies, I suppose, is what they're saying, because of all the assets they putting into them. So they got to be putting a lot of financials into these companies. You've seen all those companies that popped up. Let's go back to that real quick and let that play again. Where was it at? I guess it was right there. Yeah, let's go back a little bit. This is some good game for y'all to pick up, man. Seriously. Let's go back.
Of everything gives you so much money on a yearly basis.
and that's exactly what BlackRock did. Today, BlackRock has more than $9 trillion of assets under management. And you know what that means, right? It means that if BlackRock was a country, they would be the fourth biggest country in the world in terms of assets, surpassed only by Japan, China, and the US. That means BlackRock is bigger than the UK, bigger than Germany, bigger than France, Canada, Italy, and they own a percentage of every single major company in existence. So BlackRock is now in this position where not only do they have this incredible influence over every single company out there, but now if all they did was sit back and do nothing, they would still get another $500 billion every year if all they did was grow their assets by another 5%. Now that is power. It's why their assets under management is projected to hit $15 trillion by 2028. And now that you own a little bit of everything, you now have this bird's eye view of the entire economy that no one else can see. Think about it, if you can see where money is flowing into and out of for the entire economy, that is insanely valuable. So now it's time to use this advantage to make yourself useful to the government. So useful that the government starts to become dependent on you.
Now, that is an interesting dynamic for FBA, because I say that, my FBA brothers and sisters, because that will put you in position, like he's mentioned, in the government. You really can get the government. I'm just going to say that in reparations. All right. That's just one idea of many ideas, many options, many alternatives, many solutions. All right. So now he's talking about how they can take all these assets, know where everything is going, know how everything is running, because you're putting your money into everything. You're owning a little bit of everything. All right. Hope y'all getting these jewels, these keys, and you can apply these on a small scale. And when you get bigger, you can just keep continuing to grow. Again, like I said, this seems like the same thing Dame Dash was saying all along. And because people were looking at the tone of his voice and the way he was saying it, and the huh and the ha, and you ain't blah 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 blah, you a worker and blah 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 blah. And like I said, he's kind of seemed like he's being a little bit toned down, but he's still to the point about things. And people were saying that, oh, he's broke, this and that, but he seems to be applying the same model that BlackRock is doing. He seems to have been using the BlackRock model. I don't know if he peeped that's what they were doing. Although he's probably been talking about this way before. People, I guess BlackRock probably been around, who knows how long. But a lot of people don't even know who BlackRock is. I've asked a few people, told them about it. They didn't even know. They didn't know what they do. You see? But luckily, this person here kind of gave up the jewels. And so now you can see a little model that you can apply to yourself with your family, get your family involved, or get people who's got the same like-mindedness and mindedness, and Start applying the BlackRock model, all right, and see how things move for you. Let's go back real quick, just a little bit, and then continue on here.
Flowing into and out of for the entire economy, that is insanely valuable. So now it's time to use this advantage to make yourself useful to the governments. So useful that the government starts to become dependent on you. Aside from the public companies that BlackRock is invested in, like Coca-Cola, BlackRock also has their grubby little fingers inside of a bunch of private companies as well, to the tune of tens of billions of dollars. And this is with their private equity division. And why is BlackRock in private equity? Because private equity is where you're able to get in early on exclusive companies before they go public, before they potentially go to the moon, while also giving BlackRock a lot more influence on the company from the inside. Like, imagine if you got into Tesla just before they went public. That is private equity investing. Private equity investing has traditionally been reserved for giants like BlackRock, who can write million-dollar checks to private companies. And on top of that, the downside of private equity is that typically your money isn't very liquid. It's not like the stock market where you can just sell your shares whenever you want. So typically your money is locked in for years at a time, which is not ideal. But what if you could have the best of both worlds? What if you could get exposure to some of the most innovative private companies while also
Yeah, what if? What if you could have exposure and get the best of both worlds? Private and public. Putting your money into some public stuff, putting some money into private. But when you get all that, you do all that, you start to get a little bit more intel, getting more information and knowledge about certain things that maybe others around you won't have or won't get because they're not applying the same model as BlackRock, the BlackRock Way. All right, so let's continue.
So typically your money is locked in for years at a time, which is not ideal. But what if you could have the best of both worlds? What if you could get exposure to some of the most innovative private companies while also having the liquidity of a publicly traded stock? Well, that is where Stack Capital comes in, today's paid sponsor. If you've heard of REITs or real estate investment trusts, where you buy a REIT stock to get Hopper, Locus Robotics, and all these other companies as well. Except since you're putting your equity, sir, if you've heard of having the liquidity.
I started to skip that, but I'm gonna go ahead and let it play because it might be something you want to get into. All right, I'm not sponsoring them, but I was gonna skip it because I just want to get back into the jewels. But this is actually part of the jewels. Might be something you can start getting yourself into to apply that BlackRock way. All right, so I'm gonna let it play.
Of a publicly traded stock. Well, that is where Stack Capital comes in, today's paid sponsor. If you've heard of REITs or real estate investment trusts, where you buy a REIT stock to get exposure to real estate, it's the same idea here but with private equity. Stack Capital invests in really innovative private companies like Space.
Now keep in mind, he said private equity, and in the video prior to this, you know, they said when you get into the private companies, you're a little bit more locked in. Your money ain't as free as when you do things on the public side. So again, just keep that in mind. But this is one way that you probably can start applying the BlackRock way and start getting yourself in position to own and control and really move things. All right. So we're going to keep it going.
To get exposure to real estate, it's the same idea here but with private equity. Stack Capital invests in really innovative private companies like SpaceX, Hopper, Locus Robotics, and more. That way, if you buy Stack Capital stock, it would be kind of like if you invested into SpaceX and all these other companies as well. Except since you're putting your money into a publicly traded stock, you can sell way easier than compared to private equity. Of course, this still comes with all the same risks as any investment, and I am not a registered financial advisor, But if you've been itching to get access to these type of companies, this might be a good route for you. You can learn more about what companies Stack Capital is invested in by scrolling down and clicking the link below. Scroll down and click the link below to learn more about Stack Capital now. Step number 2, make yourself indispensable to the governments.
Economic simulation. They need to understand the impact of something, right? They're gonna raise the interest rate, for example. It's gonna create this cascade of various factors that they're not sure what it's gonna do, basically.
This is where BlackRock's secretive financial markets advisory group comes in. Now, BlackRock's Financial Market Advisories Group sounds like a vague, unassuming division of the company. And on paper, this division does not even make BlackRock all that much money. But the secret division is by far BlackRock's most important. The Financial Markets Advisory Group does everything from risk analysis to stress testing asset valuations for groups like the European Central Bank, the government of Greece, and of course America's Federal Reserve. And by offering services that no one else can provide to big business and the governments, BlackRock started racking up a lot of political goodwill with the most important decision makers in the world. This allows BlackRock to have a hand inside almost every major central bank and financial authority in the world. Just imagine the kind of insider information you could have at your fingertips if you were the one helping central banks around the world make decisions. Recessions, major market crashes, decisions to raise interest rates, to lower interest rates.
There's a lot of power that comes with that. And so again, I just emphasize, try it on a small scale. You're definitely going to gain more knowledge than you had before. And as you continue to grow, you'll have certain type of influences. But with a lot of that, it's going to be a lot of haters, not to say don't be worried about them, and you don't have to be worried, but just know that. And you always have yourself a what if clause into everything that you do. A what if clause into everything you do. So you never caught off guard or caught with your drawers hanging down, all right?
If we already know that politicians have repeatedly done insider trading on these things in the past, it's safe to assume that BlackRock definitely knows about all these things well in advance, way before they happen, especially when they're the ones helping these politicians make the decisions. Today, BlackRock has become completely and utterly entrenched in the American rock. Definitely knows.
And most definitely, I'm not saying to get involved in nothing illegal if he mentions anything illegal, but apparently it seems like what he was saying is that BlackRock knows, because of them acquiring so much and growing and growing and growing, they're going to eventually get that insider information, so they'll know things before it's going to even happen. And that's the power and the ownership and the control that can bring you. All right, brings you a lot of information and intel on things, but by no means do nothing illegal. If BlackRock is doing something illegal, they're going to get away with it because they're rocking with trillions of dollars. All right, but you still can apply the good stuff that they do.
Knows about all these things well in advance, way before they happen, especially when they're the ones helping these politicians make the decisions. Today, BlackRock has become completely and utterly entrenched in the American government, along with many other institutions around the world. The government asked BlackRock to help organize the sale of Bear Stearns after the 2008 financial crisis. They asked BlackRock to help with the bond buyback program during COVID. And BlackRock has even helped the Vatican get their finances in order. And when you've infiltrated governments this deeply, it makes buying off the politicians that much easier.
All right, buying a politician. Before we continue on, that is something that Dr. Claude Anderson always mentioned. So I think even Dr. Claude Anderson knew about this way before BlackRock probably became in existence. And who knows? BlackRock could have been around for years and years, just probably under another name. For some reason, I get a feeling that they were under another name. They just was a small entity at one time. Maybe that'll be revealed sometime sooner or later. But that's also mentioned by Dr. Claude Anderson. Own and control your politicians. All right, so let's get into it. That's step number 3. Or 2.
Step number 3. Buy yourself a few politicians.
All of these financial institutions, they buy politicians. Let me tell you, it's not who's the president. It's who's controlling the wallet. First, there's the senators. And these guys are rich. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. I can give you 500K right now. No questions asked.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who wins. They're in my pocket at this point.
Here's what you have to understand about politics, is that even though they look and sound all powerful on TV, these
I said it doesn't matter who wins because you're in their pockets now. Right? Doesn't matter who wins because you're already, once you pay them that 10 grand or whatever amount of money, they're in your pocket now. All right. So that's another thing that Dr. Claude Anderson has brought up about controlling your politicians. All right. So let's get back into that one.
First, there's the senators. And these guys are rich. You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. I can give you 500K right now. No questions asked.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who wins. They're in my pocket at this point.
Here's what you have to understand about politics, is that even though they look and sound all powerful on TV, these politicians are nothing. They don't have any actual power. They are merely puppets. Most of them don't start out with any money. So in order to get elected, they have to befriend wealthy donors like you. And when you actually get them elected, most American senators, for example, only make a measly $174,000 a year, which means these puppets are incredibly easy to bribe. Think about it.
All right, I'm going to go back again because this is something that, again, I'm going to play this back. And the video is almost done. We probably got 4 minutes left or so. But this is worth repeating and playing again. All right. So let me go back a little bit and let's get back into that again. My FBA people, pay attention to this.
You got 10 grand, you can buy a senator. I can give you 500K right now. No questions asked.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who wins. They're in my pocket at this point.
Here's what you have to understand about politics, is that even though they look and sound all powerful on TV, these politicians are nothing. They don't have any actual power. They are merely puppets. Most of them don't start out with any money. So in order to get elected, they have to befriend wealthy donors like you. And when you actually get them elected, most American senators, for example, only make a measly $174,000 a year, which means these puppets.
All right. And also worth mentioning, what has also been mentioned in different platforms and everything like that, people say that the Asians are getting a lot of stuff and they're not even voting. And I think they're applying this. Some of them don't realize they're doing it, or they're being pushed to do it and don't even know they're being pushed to do it. But they're applying this. This is why they can get a lot of stuff. They don't got to be going out. They don't go out and vote. My understanding is that when you look at the numbers of voters every year, they're on a lower scale, but they seem to get a lot of things. They seem to get anti-Asian hate crime bills. They seem to get monies. And you compare all the people that's voting in the different ethnicities, black, white, Asian, Hispanic, so on, they're a small voter block, but they seem to be getting a lot more. So are they applying the same model or pieces of the BlackRock model? All right, something to think about.
When you actually get them elected, most American senators, for example, only make a measly $174,000 a year, which means these puppets are incredibly easy to bribe. Think about it, if all you offered them was $500,000, that's almost triple their yearly salary. So of course they're gonna bend over and take it. $500,000 for you is quite literally chump change, so it's a pretty good deal. But keep in mind, in the US there are campaign contribution limits. But don't worry, because there are plenty of ways for a politician to receive $500,000 worth of value from you without you actually having to wire them $500,000, wink wink. You just gotta get creative. And now that you have the politicians in your pocket, now it's time to double down on one of the most profitable arenas, war.
Interesting. I'll give an example. Russia blows up Ukraine's grain silos. The price of wheat's gonna go mad up. So what are you gonna do if you're a trading firm? The moment that news hits, within a millisecond, you're gonna pump trades into whoever the wheat suppliers are, into their stocks. Within an hour or two, that stock goes up, and then you sell, and you just made, I don't know, however many mil. This is fantastic if you're trading. Volatility creates opportunity to make profit. War is real good for business. It's exciting when goes wrong, right?
And that's not all. In June 2023, BlackRock announced it will be setting up a
Opportunity to make profit.
And this is one of the things also that this wise man I was sitting listening to with a whole bunch of other people. I'm not going to say what race this man was, but for those who know, I gave you the key word wise. So some of you know who I'm talking about, because he's referred to as a very wise man. And this was mentioned as well. He mentioned things about war and how it is big business with war is big business. So these are some things we knew about or was told and probably didn't realize the depth of it or how deep it really is. But yeah, we were told about this. We were getting little tidbits about how the government gets down. So yeah, now it's coming back out years later.
War is real good for business. It's exciting when goes wrong, right?
And that's not all. In June 2023, BlackRock announced it will be setting up a reconstruction bank with the Ukrainian government to help rebuild the country and attract private investments. And even though BlackRock said they're going to be offering their help for free, this move will put BlackRock in the perfect position to get in early on all the best investments. Think about it, if Ukraine wins this war, it's safe to assume that America is just gonna dump even more money into the country to rebuild and take it over. And BlackRock will be in the perfect position to know about it first and capitalize. That's why companies like BlackRock are doing everything in their power to keep the war going. Because the more damage the war creates, the more reconstruction will be needed.
Ukraine is good for business. You know, right? We don't want the conflict to end.
If you own shares in Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing just like BlackRock does, then war is great for business. If you have contacts in the government that tell you when Ukraine's grain silos are blown up, or when
we don't want the conflict.
All right, so peep out them businesses again. We'll play that again.
If you own shares in Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing just like BlackRock does, then
Lockheed Martin, Raytheon,
We don't want the conflict to end.
If you own shares in Lockheed Martin, Raytheon, and Boeing, just like
Boeing, you know, that's the airplanes, anything aerodynamic.
BlackRock does, then war is great for business. If you have contacts in the government that tell you when Ukraine's grain silos are blown up, or
And remember what they were saying earlier, how once you start owning and controlling those entities, and the more you keep putting money into stuff and you building that financial control and ownership, is going to bring you that intel, that information. So remember they were saying earlier how they could know ahead of time when people were doing certain investments. If they want to do certain shady things, they'll get that information because there's so much money put into it. So same thing with the Ukraine and Russia war, they're going to get that intel.
or when America's going to sanction Russian natural gas so you can profit off of it, war is great for business. If you own shares in the companies that are eventually going to be hired to rebuild Ukraine, war is great for business. And from there, you're kind of set. Because again, if all you did right now as BlackRock was just sit back and let your money compound, it will practically be impossible for anyone to catch up to you. You'll keep getting more and more in bed with governments around the world. As you continue helping them, you'll continue buying more politicians, you'll continue getting first dibs on the most lucrative investments out there, and you'll continue profiting off of crises as they happen. All you gotta do is make sure you continue operating in the shadows, staying out of the limelight as much as possible.
They don't want to be in the news. They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar.
Why not?
I don't know, but I suspect it's probably because it's easier to do things when people aren't thinking about it.
But let's be real. Even if the masses did realize what in the shadows, staying out of the limelight as much as possible.
They don't want to be in the news. They
All right, doesn't that sound familiar with some of the old drug dealers back in the day? They don't want to be in the news. Remember the real Rick Ross always had a low profile, right? Always kept a low profile, never dressed real flashy. I forget there was another one. I forget they did, if I'm not mistaken. What's the dude's name? It just slips me. Denzel Washington played him in the movie, American Gangster. But I think he also tried to apply that rule as well. So again, it says they BlackRock. They don't want to be in the news. They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar, right? So just peep all these little different keys and jewels. All right, let's play that back.
Crises as they happen. All you gotta do is make sure you continue operating in the shadows, staying out of the limelight as much as possible.
They don't want to be in the news. They don't want people to talk about them. They don't want to be anywhere on the radar.
Why not?
I don't know, but I suspect it's probably because it's easier to do things when people aren't thinking about it.
But let's be real. Even if the masses did realize what you were up to, they're not gonna do anything about it. They're too preoccupied with TikTok paying their rent on where they're gonna go out this weekend to care.
No people don't give a This is beyond them.
So that is the cycle of life. First you get the money, then you get the power, then you get everything.
What I try to tell you, this country, you gotta make the money first. Then when you get the money, you get the power. Then when you get the power, then you get the woman. That's why you gotta make your own moves.
All right, man. So there it is. There it is. There it is. BlackRock model, or like I say, the BlackRock Way. All right, so yeah, so you should definitely play this back. And again, like I said, you can apply these things on a small scale, get yourself build up and get to a level of BlackRock. But like I said earlier, I remember when Dame Dash was mentioning a lot of these processes, these jewels, and a lot of people kind of were turned off because the way he was saying it, the tone he was saying it, like he was just kind of talking at them and not talking with them or to them. And people were kind of turned off by how he was talking to people. But he mentioned these same little steps, at least some of them. So I say take some of these steps as well, start applying it a little by little. If you got people of like minds, then get together and start applying the same model. If it's just taking a few pieces from these steps and applying them. I just thought it was interesting when I seen it, man, and it's something I was thinking about and made me go, yeah, that's pretty interesting. So I just thought I'd pass it on to y'all, and maybe they'll spark something in your mind, bring you some ideas and stuff like that. Because again, a lot of folks were talking about in regards to FBA, how the government is using certain tactics to really push certain groups in particular out the way totally, and trying to choke them financially, doing the gentrification and stuff like that. A lot of people have been saying in different cities how they see things changing as they gentrifying everything. And so applying this model or taking little jewels from it and applying it might put yourself in some position to be able to make some moves to pay the politicians. You've seen how dude said that the politicians ain't ish. They only get paid an X amount of dollars. They pretty much will do anything you want them if you hand them a certain amount of money, and especially over what they make. So, and that's what Dr. Claude Anderson mentioned too. He had that the 5-story building, start with the economics, then I think politics or law enforcement or something like that. Law, politics. I know education was on the higher up on the building. And so, yeah, even Claude Anderson mentioned that in his book. So he's like 80 something years old. So how did he know? Right. All right. So, yeah, I appreciate y'all once again. Shout out again to the live viewers and the replay viewers. Gonna check this out. Replay this video back. Hit the like button because it lets the algorithms know that, this is a channel to come back and watch. So you can get these subscribers up and viewerships up as well. And yeah, I'm just going to leave it at that, man. All right. Again, I appreciate y'all for checking it out. I hope this one you got something out of it. You're going to learn something from it. We do these types of lives every now and then as well as the entertaining ones. I thought, because a lot of times people, when you start doing a financial type of podcast, because I thought this is something that pretty much people will be more interested in compared to other types of financial stuff. Something that actually could possibly help you. I think all of it probably will help you, depending on where you at in your life. But yeah, I thought this would be interesting for you guys to peep out real quick. All right. So with that being said, I appreciate y'all. Thanks for coming in. Again, the question is the BlackRock Way a viable model for you to own and control and start moving things, right? Put your thoughts in the comments, man. You're rocking with the best. This is Thoughts of the Week. Always remember to analyze everything. All right? I'm out. Peace. You're rocking with the best. Thoughts of the Week podcast.
Working about it.